that phrase came up with this style of music trap, like secure the bag. So what in the world are we talking about when we say secure the bag? Bag means money, especially a lot of it. Picture the emoji of the money bag, right? Like a bag of coins, right? Look at me, like I'm doing okay. The coins. Wow. Okay, cool. And then get that or secure the talks about what you think it does, right? Like the act of going to get that money, the effort required to make sure that that bag is yours. Make sure that that money goes into your bank account. So together, the phrase, for those who don't know, get that bag or secure the bag, means essentially an encouragement to make moves necessary to secure money or a financial goal. You like how I brought that into the nerd realm? You like that? I had to bring it back to my level. Okay, all right. Secure the bag. It's infiltrated TikTok culture. We hear it with when professional sports players get that new contract. He secured the bag or she secured the bag. Even high profile professions like lawyers, real estate agents, salespeople are aiming to get the bag. Many of you in here as teachers, we are not getting the bag. Can we just put it there, all right? Let's just be honest. We're not getting the bag. But you may get a tutoring job in order to secure the bag, right? You may do something extra, right? You're doing something extra, right? There's no question that our culture is obsessed with money. Everyone is trying to get that bag. Especially because if you aren't trying, you may not be able to survive, right? Even those of us who aren't obsessed with it find ourselves really tempted to become obsessed with it because it's really hard out here, especially in Miami, Florida, or wherever you live around in this area. It is hard. If you don't have some sort of bag, it's really hard to even live in this area, right? And so some of us aren't trying to be obsessed. But our whole life, if we look at our schedule, ends up being about hustling or trying just so we can have food on the table, just so I can have a roof over our head, just so I have a safe neighborhood to be in, just so I can be around people that aren't going to bring me down, people that I can be encouraged by or whatever it might be, just so I can actually have clothes that I can wear, whatever. We have to work to get the money we need. For thousands of years, wise people have debated about the value of money and what it really takes to live a good life. But 2,000 years ago, Jesus, the Son of God, came to earth to show us and tell us how to secure the bag. Give a little warning, it's not what you think it is. So join me in Luke 12, verse 13. I'm going to read through verse 31. I'm reading from the New Living Translation, NLT, so it might be a little different than yours, but I promise you it's saying the same thing. Luke 12, verse 13. When you're there, would you say, I'm there? I'm there. I'm going to give a little bit more time for others to get there. If you're not there, that's cool. We're going to put it on the screen. Let's go ahead and put verse 13 on the screen. Jesus is talking to a group of people who are who are trying to pepper him with questions to see if they can trip him up. Jesus, after this, actually moves his disciples a little bit away, and he tries to instruct his disciples while a crowd is around him trying to listen in. In verse 13, we see a record of what happened on this day. Someone called from the crowd, "Teacher, please tell my brother to divide our father's estate with me." All right, now people are bringing legal questions and scandals to Jesus. Here's Jesus' response in verse 14. "Friend, who made me judge over you to decide such things like that?" Then he said, "Beware. Guard against every kind of greed, because life is not measured by how much you own." And then he told him a story. Jesus loved telling stories. Here we go. A rich man had a fertile farm that produced fine crops. He said to himself, "What should I do? I don't have room for all my crops." And then he said, "I know. I'll tear down my barns and build bigger ones. And then I'll have enough room to store all my wheat and other goods. And then I'll sit back and say to myself, my friend, Remember I talked about talking to yourself earlier? He's talking to himself, all right? Now sit back and say to myself, my friend, you have enough stored away for years to come. Now just take it easy. Eat, drink, and be merry. But God said to him, you fool, you'll die this very night. Then who will get everything you've worked for? Yes, Jesus says, a person is a fool to store up earthly wealth, but not have a rich relationship with God. In this passage, Jesus teaches us how to get that bag. The word that Jesus starts with in verse 15 is beware, guard against every type of greed. The word in the original language, this was written Greek, is a word that we don't use that much. It's covetousness. Covetousness. I can't even say this. Covetousness. I can't even say the whole word right. Covetousness. What in the world is covetousness? You might remember the word covet from the 10 Commandments. A couple of y'all with me. That sounds good. 10 Commandments. One of the 10 Commandments, you'll find it in Exodus chapter 20, verse 17. You don't have to go there. We're not going to be there very long. But in Exodus 20, God is giving Moses the 10 Commandments. And in verse 17, he gives this commandment. He says, you must not covet your neighbor's house. You must not covet your neighbor's wife, male or female servant, ox or donkey, or anything else that belongs to your neighbor. What does it mean to covet? Covetousness, or to covet, is to have an unreasonable desire for something beyond what God's already given you. Covetousness is an unreasonable desire for something beyond what God's given you. A couple things in there that are important. It's not just a desire for something. That's one thing. I desire my student loans to be paid off. And I don't think that's a bad thing. In fact, I think God would be okay if my loans were paid off. I have a desire for that. That's not coveting. When it becomes coveting is when I have an unreasonable desire for that thing and I begin to treat God like he's not doing something for me because I don't have what he's not given me yet. It's an unreasonable desire for something beyond what God's already given you. AKA, I might say, it's an insatiable appetite for more. I want more. I got a new job. I prayed for a job. I got a new job. I got a new salary. God, it's not, after 2 months, God, I need more money. I got a new opportunity. I got recognized for something at my job or at school. That's cool, but God, man, I want more. I want another. I got 500 followers. I want more. I need 100,000, right? This person trusts me, but that's not enough. I want more power. I want more influence. An insatiable appetite for more. Insatiable meaning you can't satisfy it. The more you try to get it, it just won't. You cannot satisfy it. Being clear, it's not the desire for more that's the problem. It's the unreasonable desire. Why is this unreasonable? We'll explore that in a few minutes, but let's first talk about what does Jesus say about this. Jesus called greed an evil from within that makes us unclean. The apostle Paul, who followed Jesus, he wrote many things about greed or covetousness to his churches. And to the Romans, he said, greed is evidence that a mind has rejected God's truth. To the Ephesians, he writes that greed, if unchecked, is a spiral effect and has no place among Christian people. To the Colossians, Paul wrote that greed reveals a lack of trust in God. To the Corinthians, Paul wrote that greed is the enemy of generosity. To Timothy, one of his mentees, Paul called greed, monetary greed, the root of all kinds of evil, so much so that it traps people, tempting them to actually leave the faith in order to get what they don't have. To the Thessalonians, Paul said that serving God is never an excuse to be greedy to get more. And Peter, Apostle Peter, who followed Jesus, adds to that. And he warns Christians that greed is actually at the root of all corrupt teachers and pastors in culture. Greed, listen, is actually at the root of all corrupt teachers and pastors. Some of you in here may have stayed away from church for a good amount of time because you've been hearing about pastors and leaders of churches who have been arrested for illegal activities, or they have been they've been taken out of the pulpit because they've been messing around with people they shouldn't be messing around with, or they're stealing money, or they're using money for personal gain. Some of you may be in here this morning say, hey, I'm in church this morning, but I don't really know how I feel about church, because what I know about pastors and what I know about church is corruption. And what Peter says is that at the root of that corruption, it has nothing to do with God. It has nothing to do with who God is or who God isn't. It has nothing to do with the overall church. It has to do with people who have let greed get so deep into their heart that it warps everything that they do. So even though it looks like they're following God, even though it looks like they're doing things for the kingdom, it's corrupted it, and they actually have gone into covetousness, and it's an insatiable desire that for things that God has not given them. So what is covetousness itself? We know it's bad, or at least that's what Paul says, and if we believe him, then we believe it's bad too. What is it? I want to give you a quick formula. This might be worth writing down, because I think, and I will claim, that every one of us has a seed of covetousness somewhere in us, and it's going to fit one of these three areas. What is covetousness? Covetousness is made up of three parts. Number one, covetousness it starts with discontent. Discontent. I am not happy with whatever I have or wherever I am. It starts with discontent. What God has given me is not enough. And this is pretty easy for some of us to see. We look at social media, we look all around us, and we see people with a certain type of house, a certain type of car. We listen to this idea of the American dream, and we have a feeling that if I'm not here, if I'm not at that level, then, or any level, whatever it is, then for some reason God has done me wrong. I don't have enough bedrooms for each of my kids to have their own. God, what are you doing? My car is on life support. I'm putting more money into it than it's getting me at the job, right? Right? Lord God, you've done me wrong. I've been working. I got a degree, or I did a training program, and I have a job, but I can't get ahead. Other people are getting promotions over me, and I just can't seem to get the path. I can't seem to get ahead. God, you must. I heard, God, that you have cattle on 1,000 hills. I heard, God, that you're a good God. I heard, God, that you bless those that love you. Well, God, I love you. I've been praying. I've been talking. I've been serving. I've been saying no to things that I know you wouldn't like. I've been saying yes to things that I don't like, but I know you said I should like. I've been trying, God, and yet you have not blessed me. Discontent. And discontent then moves into envy. We begin to compare what I have or what God's given me to what others have. And now I see that brother so-and-so got a new job. Well, where's my job? I see that sister so-and-so got a new purse. Well, where's my new purse? I see that this child got into this college. Well, why is my child not good? I see that this friend did this, and well, why have I not gotten this? And we start looking around and comparing our lives to others around us. And again, we start to envy what God is doing in their lives, saying, God must have forgotten me. God, I must be doing something wrong. We compare what God is doing in others to what God is not doing in us. And we forget that everyone's on their own journey with God. Just because God has given brother so-and-so this job or sister so-and-so this position, it does not mean that God ever meant for you to have the same thing. And if and when he does bless you, are you then going to turn around and say to someone who doesn't have what you have, oh, you must be missing it, buddy. I'm sorry. It's my time now. No. Our logic doesn't even make sense. Envy then turns into something even worse. As soon as I get my notes, I'll remember what it is. Sorry. Turns into idolatry. Idolatry, placing value in something that has no real value and placing the value above the value of God. So let's be honest right now. What idol tempts you for its worship? Is it position? I want a certain title or level of status in society. I want people to look at me a certain way, and I will choose to say no to God if I can get that. Is it material? Something material? Something you got to have? I will stop serving because I want to work more hours so that I can get. What tempts you to make it an idol? Is it your schedule? Can I tell you mine? Mine, I'm going to tell you anyway, whether you want to or not. All right, so mine is accomplishment. I do not care whether I rise a ladder in society, I don't care. But at the end of my life, I want to look back and say, look at what I've done. And it's not, and I'll be honest, it's not that I want anyone to pat me on the back. That's not why I do it. I do it because I don't want to look back at my life and say I've wasted time or I could have done and I didn't. Here's the problem. I will begin to try to accomplish things that God has not told me to work for. I will fill my schedule. I will fill my head and my heart to care about things that God has not given me to care about. And so I start working, I start trying to accomplish, and I look back and I'm exhausted and I'm not getting anywhere. And God's looking at me like, who told you to work on that? I didn't tell you to do that. Who told you to fill your schedule that full? I didn't tell you to do that. Who told you you had to accomplish that? I didn't tell you how to accomplish that. And so I'm in this constant battle where I put accomplishment, like this achievement thing, as an idol before God. I will ignore God in order to get something done. I will even turn the things that God has told me to do into something to get done rather than a relationship to enjoy or a journey to travel slowly. For me, I will look at it as something that, y'all pray with me. It's serious. The deeper I get in, the closer I get to God, the more I realize like how dangerous this can be. And so my relationships aren't always real relationships. They're only relationships in as much as I need something to be done out of it. The things I get from what I do are short-lived. Checked it off. Oh, that felt good. 2 seconds later, what's next? An insatiable desire for something that God has not given me. What is an idol for you? What is that thing that you will push God to the side? You will take God off his rightful place and put that thing and desire that more than him. Covetousness is discontent, which then grows into envy and ends up in idolatry. My daughter, Bree, is covetous. I'm going to call her out. Bree, I'm calling you out, girlie. We will be sitting at the dinner table, and on my plate is what I'm eating. On her plate is the same thing, what she's eating. But for some reason, the things on her plate do not look as good as the things on my plate. And so even though the same thing on her plate is the same thing on my plate, she will reach her hand over, not a fork, not a spoon, her dirty hands, put them into my mac and cheese and take my mac and cheese. And then I will say to Bree, Bree, you greedy hog, you have mac and cheese right there. She looked at me when I said that. She knows what I'm saying. right? And so she wants an unreasonable desire for something that she hasn't had, that I didn't give her. Why don't you eat what's on your own plate? What if God looks at us and says to us, Shai, why don't you eat what's on your own plate? Al, why don't you eat what's on your own plate? Stop looking at someone else's plate. Eat what's on your plate. Here's the thing we know about God. If we believe God is a provider, if we believe God is good to us, then whatever he's placed on your plate is what he knows fits your stomach. You start wanting what's on other people's plates, you may not be able to digest it. You start wanting what's on other people's plates, and you start being unkind. You start pushing people out of the way to get what they have. God hasn't given that to you. So that's what covetousness is. Let's look back at the story. Jesus gives a story for this. Let's read the story. Why in the world is God Why does Jesus, tell this story? Well, in chapter 12, we'll start in verse 16. I love this. Then he told them a story. A rich man had a fertile farm that produced crops, and he said to himself, "What should I do? I don't have room for all my crops." And then he said, I know what I'll do. I'll tear down my barns and build bigger ones, and then I'll have room enough to store all my wheat and other goods, and I'll sit back and say to myself, "My friend, you have enough stored away for years to come. Now take it easy. Eat, drink, and be merry." But God said to him, "You fool, you're going to die tonight. And then who will get everything you worked for?" Jesus ended with this: "Yes, a person is fool to store up earthly wealth, but not have a rich relationship with God." Listen to this quote: "The bosoms of the poor, the houses of widows, the mouths of children are the barns which last forever." The bosoms of the poor, the houses of widows, the mouths of children are the barns which last forever. We can leave it right there. What did this man do wrong? The man had enough. God had richly blessed him. It says he's a rich man. God had allowed this man to amass wealth. And in God's kingdom culture, he should have given away what he didn't need. Instead of giving it away, he had an insatiable desire for more, and so he made an utterly stupid and wasteful move in order to hold on to more than he actually needed, more than God had actually given him to keep. In order to what? He wanted to secure the bag. How do I know he wanted to secure the bag? He wanted to secure the bag because he says, "Listen, I'm going to sit back and say, you stored enough for years, now take it easy, drink and be merry." This man said, "I'm going to set myself up so I don't have to work anymore. And all that God has blessed me with is going to stay with me, and I am not going to pour out or give out or share what God has given me. I'm just going to feed myself." Listen, that sounds like a good retirement plan. But in God's kingdom culture, that is not how his people are to behave. And I know this may prick some people right now. This may hurt you a little bit. You are not meant to have so much more than you can use. Why? Because God has given you what you have for you and then to bless someone else. You are not meant to have a bank account that swells and swells and swells and you don't pour it back out. Hear what I'm saying? It doesn't mean that you're not meant to have a lot of money. That's not the point. God gives you a lot of money. If he does, and he gives you a lot of money, it's so that you have what you need and then share the rest. That's what God's kingdom culture is. You can argue with him all you want. Don't argue with me. I didn't make the rules. Talk to him about it. That's the way he set it up. And so the man is a fool. God comes and says, whenever you die and you have all this stuff in your barn, then what are you going to do? In our society, I'm going to tell you what happens to those barns. The government's going to get over half of it. Why should the government get it all when I can give it to my brothers and sisters who need it? What are we doing, right? And so God says, you are a fool. How many of us are a fool for trying to get more than what God has actually given us, and then knowing that we just want to pull it for ourselves and not even considering that if he gave us more, we'd give it to somebody else. Man. Some of you might be like, yeah, covetousness, that's cool, but I don't really do that. I'm not stuffing my barns. Who even has barns anymore, right? You know what I'm saying? That's a Redlands thing, right? Who's got a barn? What does covetousness look like in our day? Well, in the 70s, 80s, we might have said keeping up with the Joneses. Oh, you got a dog? Oh, we got to get a dog, y'all. We got to get a dog. Oh, they got a new car. You see that? Man, our car's only 2 years old. We better get a new one, too. Keeping up with the Joneses. Oh, you see that, brother? They got a new house. We got to start looking at a house. We don't have money for it. Well, Jones has got a house. We got to get a house too. Why we got to look at, because, man, we don't want to look like. Keeping up with the Joneses. Today, scrolling. Phones, internet, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, they look great. But here's what happens. We spend all this time. Let me ask this question. How many of you, your social media time, think of it as a pie, right? How much of that time do you spend looking at your own posts? Your own posts. How much time do you spend staring at your own posts? Versus how much time do you spend staring at what everyone else is doing? I say 99%, 1 to 99%, maybe 1% of the time, maybe half of a percent of the time I stare. We post, we look at it, oh, that was nice, and we never look at it again. And then we spend the rest of our time doing what? Looking what everybody else is doing. Oh, she's wearing that. Oh, he's got that car. Oh man, I want to do that. Oh man, I need to get abs. We spend so much of our time looking at other people's lives. And here's what we don't do with that. We don't look at other people's lives and then say, oh, I'm going to pray for them. We don't look at other people's lives and then say, hey, let me reach out and encourage them. We don't look at other people's lives and then say, like, hey, let me see if I can help them. We don't look at other people's lives and then say, man, let me praise God for how he's blessed them. No, what we do, we look at other people's lives and say, oh, that looks good. Why don't I have that? Why don't I do that? Oh, man, I wish my wife was like that. Oh, man, I wish my husband did that for me. Oh, man, that house looks good. Hey, honey, can we remodel our kitchen like that? Hey, you see what I'm saying, right? We spend all this time on social media, and most of what we do, we have an unreasonable and insatiable desire for what everyone else has and God has given. That doesn't mean social media is bad. We can use it in great ways, but if we aren't careful, look at what Jesus said. He says, beware. He says, be careful. Be on guard. Guard against every kind of greed. Here's the thing. Many of us will say, I'm not greedy because I'm not asking for more and more and more. Here's the thing. Jesus said, beware of every kind of greed. He's not just talking about the one who gets the airplane and the yacht and then wants more. He's talking about you and me who want more than what he's given us right now. We got to be careful with our scrolling. So then let's watch this, all right? Enough of the beating you up. Let me get the encouragement, amen? Jesus tells them a story, but he doesn't end there. Can you go with me to the end here? Go with me to verse 22. And before I do, I want to just drop this real quickly. Jesus has a different expectation for his disciples than he does for the crowd. So notice that someone from the crowd shared this, right? Someone from the crowd shared this story or shared this case, and Jesus said to the crowd, don't be greedy. But watch this. In the next verses, verse 22, Jesus turned to his disciples and he said, no, listen. Jesus to the crowd said, don't be greedy. But Jesus to the disciples in verse 22 says something different. He says, turn to his disciples. Jesus said, that is why I tell you. He's not talking to the crowd. He's talking to his disciples. In other words, there are people who are around, and I just need everyone to know, don't be greedy. Just watch out for greed. But those who will want to follow me, if you're calling yourself a Christian, if you're going to be a disciple, you're actually going to follow me and try to be like me. If you're my disciple, that's why I'm telling you not to worry about everyday life. There's a difference between being greedy and worrying about everyday life, all right? My bank account's on -1 right now. My bill is due tomorrow. It's not greedy for me to want some money to pay that bill, right? It is greedy for me to want, after paying that bill, to want more and more and more to then buy a whole bunch of stuff from Amazon. That might be greedy, right? Okay, there's a difference. Jesus says to the crowd, don't be greedy, but he says to his disciples, don't even worry about everyday life. In case you haven't gotten it yet, let's keep going. Jesus says, don't worry about everyday life, whether you have enough food to eat or enough clothes to wear, or for life is more than food and your body more than clothing. Look at the ravens. They don't plant or harvest or store food in barns, for God feeds them. And you are far more valuable than any birds. Can all your worries add a single moment to your life? And if worry can't accomplish a little thing like that, what's the use of worrying over even bigger things? And then he says another thing. Look at the lilies and how they will grow. They don't work or make their clothing, yet Solomon in all his glory was not dressed as beautiful as they are. And if God cares so wonderfully for flowers that they're here today and thrown away into the fire tomorrow, he will certainly care for you. Why do you have so little faith? And he says, don't be concerned about what to eat and what to drink. Don't worry about such things. These things dominate the thoughts of unbelievers all over the world, but your Father already knows your needs. Seek the kingdom of God above all else, and he will give you everything you need. Now watch this. So don't be afraid, little flock. In case you're wondering about God's motives, look what it says. Don't be afraid, little flock, for it gives your Father great happiness or pleasure to give you the kingdom. And then he goes here. Sell your possession. Give to those in need. This will store up treasure in heaven, for you in heaven, and the purses of heaven will never get old or develop holes. Your treasure will be safe. No thief can steal it, and no moth can destroy it. Wherever your treasure is, there the desires of your heart will be also. There is so much here, and I don't have time to unpack all of it, but a couple of thoughts related to securing the bag. God says to the crowd, don't be greedy, but he says to his disciples, don't even worry about what you need. I'm going to say that again, just in case. If you are here today and you have decided to follow Jesus, he says, I don't want others being greedy, but I don't even want you thinking about worrying, about being anxious for, struggling for the things that you need. Why? Because if God makes sure every bird gets food, and you're worth more than birds, why in the world would he not take care of you? Why can I trust that God would give me what I need? I don't have to worry about it. Because if God makes sure lilies are beautiful and flowers look gorgeous and they have the water and sun they need, and you're worth more than flowers that are here and then just gone the next day, right? Do you not believe that he would also take care of you? Listen, our relationship with stuff is not going to get fixed by getting more or less stuff. Or even looking at stuff differently. Our relationship with stuff is only going to be fixed by looking at God differently. I want to put that on the screen so make sure y'all can see this. Our relationship with stuff is only going to be fixed by looking at God differently. If I try to stop being greedy by okay, I'm gonna not look at that thing. I'm gonna close my Amazon account so I can, or I'm gonna X out all of my saved things in my account, right? Or I'm gonna close out the things on my browser that show the purse I want or the car that I want, or I'm gonna close out the house. I'm gonna stop greedy. That is not gonna change your heart. It's a good thing to do. I'm not saying don't do it. It's probably a good thing to do, but it's not gonna change your heart. Why? Because unless I change my relationship with stuff, actually change my relationship with it, I'm still going to want it. But here's the deal. Stuff wants me as much as I want it, right? Our world is so filled with just like, get this. And so unless we actually look at our Creator differently, we won't change. Well, how do I look at my Creator differently? When I look at God and I realize that, number one, he's the one who gave me everything that I need, that I don't need to look anywhere else, then I'm not so desiring of things around me. When I understand that God never fails, if he promised to take care of me, then he will take care of me. Then I don't have to worry about what's around me. When I remember who God is, that whatever he says goes, that whatever he says he'll do, he actually does, then I don't have to worry about that. And unless we change our relationship with God, unless we move to actually trust God, we will never look at stuff differently. We will continue to be covetous and we will continue to be greedy. And so it all comes down to this question: do you trust God and his love for you? If we're actually going to be less greedy or not greedy, if we're going to be less covetous or not covetous at all, if we're going to obey Jesus, obey God in this, then we have to trust God, because it means taking my hands off the reins. It means taking off my hands, getting rid of control from my life. It means actually saying, God, I give you my life and I will stop trying to control it. I will stop trying to make sure everything fits and everything exactly how I need it. It means that I'm not just going to not be greedy, but I'm not even going to worry about whether that bill would get paid. It doesn't look like it right now. It doesn't look like my car is going to make it to next month. It doesn't look like I'm going to have enough to pay for classes coming up. It doesn't look like my marriage is going to have enough to make it through the next year. It doesn't look like my house is going to still be what we need it to be. I've got bugs everywhere. I've got things are going on. It doesn't look like my job is going to last very long. Jesus says, stop thinking about any of that. God is going to do it. And the only way we're actually going to be able to obey Jesus' command here is to look at God differently, to trust him and his love for you. Bree knows that I love her, but I don't give her everything she wants. She doesn't know that I love her because everything she wants, I just hand out to her. She knows that I love her because everything she needs, she's got and some. Some of us have this thought about God, that if God doesn't give you what you've asked for, that somehow he doesn't love you. You've been praying for this and he hasn't given, so God, you must not love me. You've been asking for this, but God's really trying to tell you that's not for you, my child. Bree really wants sugar stuff. And I'm going to tell her, no, you can't have that now. Does she understand why? Heck no, she doesn't understand why. She just wants it. In the same way, we want some stuff. We don't understand it's not good for us. Do we understand why? Heck no, we don't understand why. But God knows why. But unless we trust him with our lives, unless we trust him with control over our lives, we will constantly be at war with God rather than being at peace with our Father. If Bree fights me every time I say no, she and I will not have a good relationship. But when she learns that even when I say no, doesn't mean I don't love her, but that I'm going to take care of her, we can go on in peace. Is that the relationship you have with your Heavenly Father? The cure for covetousness is contentment. Look at what the writer of Hebrews says. I'm going to put on the screen for us. Hebrews 13. I'm almost done, y'all. Get you out of here. Hebrews 13, 5-6. The writer says this: don't love money. Be satisfied with what you have, for God has said, I will never fail you and I will never abandon you. Do you trust God and his love for you? Verse 6, we can say with confidence, the Lord is my helper, so I'll have no fear. What can people do to me? Do you trust God and his love for you? Look what he says to his son Timothy in the first letter to Timothy, chapter 6, verses 6-8. He says, true godliness and contentment in itself is great wealth. After all, we brought nothing with us when we came into the world. We can't take anything with us when we leave it. So if we have enough food and clothing, let us be content. Then Paul adopts this philosophy when he speaks and writes to the believers in Philippi. He writes in chapter 4, verse 11. He says, not that I was ever in need, for I've learned to be content with whatever I have. I know how to live on almost nothing and everything. I have learned the secret of living in every situation, whether it's with a full stomach or empty, with plenty or little, for I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength. Oh, how we take that out of context. Paul is not talking about, I'm going to make it to the NBA. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. No. Paul is talking about life is really difficult. And there are moments in life where I don't know if I'm going to make it, but I can make it because I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength. Paul adopts this philosophy, will we? Will we trust God in his love for us? So in 5 final minutes, and then I'm going to get out of your way, let me give you 3 things that you can take with you. How can we fight covetousness? How can we be content? Number 1, fight discontent with gratitude. Fight discontent with gratitude. Whenever you find yourself thinking, man, I am not happy with where I am, just turn that thing around and say, God, thank you for where you brought me. Every time you get to a place and say like, man, I think I should be here, just pause, say, God, thank you for even allowing me to be here. The next time you're thinking like, man, I really want more, I got to get more, pause and say, God, Thank you for even allowing me to have as much as I have right now. Fight discontent with gratitude. You might journal. You might put sticky notes on your wall. You might make cards, like Kiki's so good at making some beautiful cards that say, thank you, Lord, for what you've done. You might need to put a reminder on your phone every day or every hour or every meal to stop and say grace. Why do we say grace before we eat? To thank God for the food that he's given us. He didn't have to do that. But he has. And so many of us skip the grace and we just eat. We can't throw all tradition out with the bathwater. We can't do it. That's intentional to make us stop and be grateful. And why should we stop and be grateful? Because it fights discontent, which leads to greed and covetousness. So let us fight discontent with gratitude. And then let's go. Number 2, fight envy with joy. The next time you look at someone on social media, someone somewhere else, and you're thinking, man, I wish I, or I wish they, or oh man, I'm jealous of what they have. Turn that thing around, pause. Instead of being jealous, be joyful. Say, Lord, I'm so grateful for what you have given me. Lord, I can stand. I have food. I have clothes. It's not what I would wish, maybe. It's not what they have. It's not what the Joneses have. It's not what so-and-so. It's not what popular culture have. It's not what the popular kids have. It's not what those people on campus have. It's not what those people on my job have. But Lord, I'm going to be joyful because the same God that blesses them is the same God that's going to bless me. That's what we forget. We forget that as God blesses others, especially our brothers and sisters, we serve the same God. And so if you haven't received the blessing you're praying for, guess what? Either he's not going to give it, he's going to give you something different and better for what you need, or it's just a waiting moment. And he's just saying, will you wait with joyfulness and gratitude? Will you wait? And when you get it, do you want them to be sour towards you because you were sour towards them? Or do you want them to be joyful with you because you were joyful with them? And so instead of us looking at brothers and sisters and saying, oh man, I wish I got that. What if we came alongside and said with our brother or sister, hey, I really would love that too, but let me say, I'm going to put that aside. I just in this moment want to be grateful. I want to praise with you for what God has done for you. Fight envy with joy. The same God that's blessing them is blessing you. And lastly, fight idolatry with prayer. Fight idolatry with prayer. Why do I say prayer? Prayer is intimate conversation with God. Doesn't have to be a specific place, doesn't have to be a specific time. Prayer is a beautiful gift of God where we get to actually talk to and hear from the creator of the universe. I'm sorry, y'all, but that's wild. That the creator of the universe would create a communication pathway to little old me, that's ridiculous. But he's done it. God's known to be pretty radical. So we fight idolatry with prayer. The more I spend time with him, the more I stay connected with my Father, the more I stay in communication with the creator of the universe, the less I'm even tempted to put other things in his place. Why? Why am I less tempted to put other? Because anyone who spends time with God cannot help but come away in complete awe. If you spend time with God, really spend time with God. By really, I don't mean do anything special. I just mean really discipline ourselves to remove distractions and really spend time in God's presence. And much of the time, it's like, God, I don't see anything. I don't hear anything. I've been here for a while. My knees are starting to hurt. My arms are starting to hurt. My eyes are starting to hurt. They're closed. God, where are you? But if we spend time, if we press and the old folks would say, tarry, if we spend time with God, when we meet God, when he meets us, you can never be changed. You will always be changed. You can never go back to the same way you were. And any other thing holds nothing to the relationship you have with God. It's like that old hymn that says, in the garden, I come to the garden alone. The dew is still on the roses, and the voice I hear falling on my ear, the Son of God discloses there's nothing like. It says he speaks and the sound of his voice is so sweet. The birds stop singing. Do the birds actually stop singing? No. What he's saying is when I communicate with my Father, it's so awesome that everything else fades away. And so the discontent and the envy and the idolatry can't even hold a place to the fact that I'm actually in relationship with the one who loves me more than anyone else in this world. Y'all, we don't have to be covetous. We don't have to be greedy. We can be satisfied with what we have. We don't even have to worry. Why? Because God, our Father, is here with us. His name is Emmanuel, through Jesus Christ, who came and lived on the earth and spoke and modeled for us what it looks like to be in relationship with God. And then he took it a step further. He died on a cross to make it so that we could bridge the gap of our sinfulness and our inability to connect with God. And because Jesus was so connected with God, because Jesus trusted God with his own life when he was being nailed to a cross, because Jesus trusted God and what he was doing even when his body was racked with pain, because Jesus trusted and did not worry what would happen to his life because he trusted his Father, because Jesus did that. Now you and I can have a relationship where we can do the same thing. It is through Christ alone that we can actually do this. And so I invite you this morning, y'all, to make the shift in your life. Exchange your love for things or a thing or an it, the American dream, whatever it is. Will you exchange it for trust in your Father? Will you exchange it for a passionate pursuit of kingdom things? Look at what Jesus says in Luke, where we just were, Luke 12. Look what Jesus says. He says in verse 33, verse 31, seek the kingdom, and everything else he will give to you. And then he says in verse 33, sell your possessions and give to those. Don't just not worry about them. Go ahead and just sell them. Why? When you do these good things, when you reverse your life and you live radically, where you're not wanting for things, but actually you're trying to give things away, what you are doing is you're storing up goodness and treasure for yourself in heaven. And that treasure, Jesus says, will be safe. And then he says this, wherever you are placing your treasure, that you can be sure that's where your heart is. And why does it matter where our heart is? Where your heart is determines where you will be for eternity. If your heart is with this world and stuff, when this world passes away, you will too. But if your heart is focused on building treasure, securing a kingdom bag, you will enjoy that kingdom bag when this world goes away. Will you make the shift this morning? Will you start to examine your life? Holy Spirit, help me to see what it is that I'm discontent about, where I have envy, where I'm putting idols in front of you. And Lord, help me, undo me, completely unravel it so that I can start to secure a kingdom bag, not an earthly bag.